up, everybody. This will only take a second. I just want to tell you all about the cool app that I use to record both of my podcasts called Spotify for Podcasters. You too can download it, start your own podcast, maybe make video podcasts. Or if you want to make a little coin, baby, with your podcast, you can do so using Spotify for Podcasters. So download the app today.
Christmas is upon us, and with Christmas being here right on top of us over at Tin Roof Podcast decided to put together a fun little Christmas playlist of some of our favorite punk rock and country and metal Christmas hits that you could sit back and jam out to for this whole next week and even a little bit after. So go over to Spotify, type in the Tin Roof Christmas playlist, and check out what we've got for you over there today. Welcome back. Gonna be a busy week, right? We're really getting into the final stretch, so to speak, of the holiday season where, we're gonna be go, most of us, for like the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks even. Christmas parties, last minute shopping, all that stuff. We actually had a Christmas party that we helped put together yesterday with some friends. That was pretty cool. But this is not the Christmas episode. The Christmas episode's actually going to come later this week. This episode is just a regular episode. And man, I'm honestly over the moon with how the Scream With Me episode did, as far as like once it got put out there and everything. And man, welcome back. We're going to have some more fun talking music and stuff like that. But today it's going to be more of like to help you guys get to know me better. So like we're going to talk some stuff that like I'm a big fan of. And we're actually going to take it back to like where it all started for me, as far as like what got me hooked into these kinds of musics and why I'm a fan, I guess. And so first of all, welcome back to the Tin Roof Podcast. Super happy to have you guys here. Hopefully you got a cup of coffee, or maybe you're actually working out in the gym, so maybe coffee wouldn't be a good idea. So, but wherever you are in your day, thank you for letting us be there with you. And we're ready to chat it up about some cool music. Why do I keep saying musics? It just sounds weird. It's starting to annoy myself, so I apologize for that. We're going to chat some cool music to kick things off and get stuff started. I do want to mention, if you guys are a fan of comic books and a fan of the band Coheed and Cambria, their songs are actually based off of comic books that the lead singer and I am drawing a blank right now. But anyways, lead singer Claudio Sanchez wrote these comic books called the Amori Wars, and I would definitely recommend it for an older audience. But they are the ones that I have read. I haven't read the full series yet, but the couple that I have read are pretty cool, and their songs are actually based off of those. Their songs are based off of those comics, and it's really cool that somebody kind of did that, being a comic book fan / also a comic book writer myself, and being a fan of Coheed and Cambria's music. But the Amori Wars storyline series, however you want to put it, just come to an end. And so that's pretty cool too, because it went from like 2003 to 2023, so over 20 years they did this really cool story, and it goes along with their music. So check out their music, check out their comic books too, because that's pretty neat. And like, to think we're at the end of 2023, which I don't want to dwell on too much because we've got a Christmas special to kind of dwell on it and talk about a few different things that I wanted to discuss. But man, how cool is it? Like, I tried to get this podcast started back in September, and like everything just kind of fell apart. But I was finally like, just, you know what, I'm going to do it. And to get it started has been really, really cool. So said we were going to start at the beginning for me. So to my earliest recollection, some of the bands that I heard that really, I guess, got things started for me and hooked on things. Country's probably my earliest memories, because, you know, grandparents and even like 90s country that my parents would play and stuff. My grandma always really liked country music, like classic country music, like Merle Haggard, Marty Stewart, Charlie Pride. And so I heard a lot of those guys whenever I was younger, and even Randy Travis. Like, who's not a Randy Travis fan? I actually was talking to somebody yesterday, a friend, and I told her, I was like, Cold Hard Rock Bottom of Your Heart is like one of my absolute favorite songs. And it's a Randy Travis tune that's just so good. It's like, it has everything a country song should have. Just good, you know, guitars and just, you know, heartbroken lyrics. It's what a country song should be. I'm not saying that every country song should be heartbroken lyrics, but some of the best country songs are heartbroken lyrics, and that's because there's like a link to like bluesiness there if you go back and you look at it, and we will at some point, but that's not the whatever for today's podcast. So we've got those older guys, but then I really started taking a liking to, and maybe it was, you know, family influenced or whatever, but Kenny Chesney stuff, and Kenny Chesney stuff from like the beginning of his career to more modern Kenny Chesney is two totally different animals. He's become more like a younger Jimmy Buffett, which, you know, cool. That's his own thing. But I really, really enjoy his older stuff. Like You Have Me From Hello, What I Need to Do, The Tin Man, That's Why I'm Here. Those songs to me, and How Forever Feels is a really cool love song that is a country song that is more positive, like, and not heartbroken. Like, those ones I thought were really, really good by him, and I am a fan of those ones. But then you got stuff like Montgomery Gentry is probably one of my favorite bands, and, you know, like their first like big hit was like All Night Long. That's a really good song, and man, they just continue to go on up from there. And, you know, Toby Keith, whenever I was younger, with the Gotta Get You Some, and the Should Have Been a Cowboy, songs like that really, you know, were prominent. And then, of course, everybody, you know, knows Garth Brooks with Thunder Rolls, let's see, Daddy Love Mama, and the River. You know, so many good songs by him. Rodeo was like one of my favorites whenever I was younger, because, you know, bull riding and stuff was, you know, super cool to me. And I'm still a rodeo fan. I don't watch all the time or anything, but I'll sit down and watch some bull riding. It's just such an interesting sport and extremely dangerous. But again, you know, that makes a good country song is, you know, those Western culture aspects, things like rodeo, or you know, stuff that Chris Ledoux does, which I didn't become a Chris Ledoux fan until I was older, so we won't talk too much about Chris Ledoux in this episode, I don't think. But yeah, I think Chris Ledoux will actually end up getting his own episode, just because, like, how influential that dude was on guys like Garth Brooks and Toby Keith, and that dude's a legend. But Trace Adkins, Leaving the Lights On, Every Light in the House is On. That's such a good song. And he's got so many others too, but my brain is not working with me this morning, so I can't think of another one. But then we also have, man, I was just thinking of it so I could transition so nicely, and I'm totally failing. Caffeine hasn't kicked in, I guess, yet. But Tracy Lawrence with Time Marches On, Lessons Learned. That dude is honestly an underrated country singer whenever it comes to the 90s. I don't think people give him enough, appreciation for like the stuff that he put out back then. Clay Walker, man, another one, that song, Then What was the name of it. And then of course there's like some, funny ones out there and everything that kind of got sprinkled in with all that, like Sammy Kershaw with the Queen of My Double Wide Trailer and stuff. Because I thought Then What was kind of a silly song whenever I was a kid. And I guess it kind of is, but so those were like my first real big influences, was 90s country radio. And here in like this region of Missouri that I live in, it's the St. Louis area, and 92.3 WIL was like the station back in the day. And then it eventually became 93.7 The Bull. That was like the station. But man, to me, country music radio has kind of fallen off. That will be a discussion for another day as well. But, man, WIL back in the day, they had like the best DJs. They had, great shows, and then they just constantly played amazing music, just nonstop. And the 90s was a fun time to be a kid because, like, the music was good, the TV shows were cool. Like, we had Walker, Texas Ranger, and everything like that. And maybe that, like, also influenced my liking in music and stuff because of different TV shows and stuff I watched, too. I never even really thought about that. But then whenever it came to things like hard rock and actually, I feel like maybe it was considered classic rock before it should have been considered classic rock would be things like, Van Halen. My dad was a big Van Halen fan, is a big Van Halen. Why? My dad is a big Van Halen fan. And because of that, I really became a big Van Halen fan, and I didn't even realize for the longest time until I got probably to middle school that Sammy Hagar was the lead singer at one point, and then like you had David Lee Roth before that. I had no idea, but that was like a big band that we listened to growing up, and then my mom and my dad were Aerosmith fans, so I actually didn't hear Dream On until I was in like 5th grade, but I heard lots of their other stuff. Dude Looks Like a Lady, and you cannot talk about Dude Looks Like a Lady without remembering the late great Robin Williams dressed as Mrs. Doubtfire, doing the cleaning montage and all the different things with the kids playing soccer and so on, in that just crazy silly outfit. It was man, the 90s, like I said, was a cool time to be around as a kid. And those two were pretty high up there for me. I'm a big Iron Maiden fan, but that didn't come along until later. I'm trying to think of another big prominent, because like I love like Van Halen, their style of like hard rock / metal is probably like some of my favorite. We weren't big Kiss fans growing up. I'm not even a big Kiss fan now. Not that they haven't done some amazing stuff for music, but they're not for me. But Metallica was another one from whenever I was younger that was a really big deal for me. That was one that was my dad's like big favorites, was Metallica. And Enter Sandman, whenever I first heard that was like huge for me. Just like the guitar riffs at the beginning and the drums, and just like whenever I first started, I was like, what is happening? What is this? And man, that Black album, so thankful for it, because that's what really got it started for me. And the Black album was not even my favorite. My favorite album I didn't even really listen to until 7th grade, 6th grade, something like that. And that's Injustice for All. Injustice for All is my favorite Metallica album. I still haven't listened to 72 Seasons. I need to. And maybe that's not going to be fair for something that I'm going to talk about in the Christmas special episode later on this week. But, man, Metallica and Van Halen really, I guess, put together, in my mind, what I really liked as a metalhead. And it's, the intense voices with unique sounds to the voices, because you put David Lee Roth, James Hetfield, and Sammy Hagar in a lineup, and start looking at the different things that they bring as singers, and it's totally different, because the way Hetfield sounds, and with his weird things that he does at the end of his words, "Zah!" I'm trying to think of an example, but I'm drawing a blank on one right now. But when he says the word "there" in Enter Sandman, "There," things like that. It's unique to him, and man, if you listen to one, that song, is just amazing, because it's, got so many different cool things to it. But since I wanted to focus more on the Black album, for the example for James Hetfield, you've got Enter Sandman, then you've got Sad But True, where it's still so intense and super, super heavy. But then you get to Unforgiven and Nothing Else Matters, where it's a little slowed down and more melodic and very, it's just that album, and James Hetfield's voice. I mean, obviously the band makes the album in more ways than one. Do I mean that? But you gotta have a good frontman, and James is that for Metallica. Not that he's all of their success, because you cannot not credit any of the other guys, because Kirk is such an amazing guitarist, Lars is a wonderful drummer, and you could go right down the list. But enough about James and Metallica. We're going to move on to the two Van Halen singers that I wanted to discuss. So you got David Lee Roth with what he brought to the table, and that dude brought so many amazing songs from the early days. And it's more high pitched, it's more controlled, and it's very, I guess the word that I would use is excitable. Whereas Sammy, he had a little bit more of a range, could get a little bit deeper, and it's just unique on its own. And I really dig his stuff. Humans Being is probably actually one of my favorite Van Halen songs with him, whereas Jump was done with David Lee Roth and is, an absolutely amazing song in itself. Man, that one, and talk about unique artwork too. That's another thing that really makes a metal band in my mind, is the super unique artwork for their covers. Because even back in the day, Van Halen had kind of what is the name of it's from Greek lore, but the dude that holds the globe, they kind of have that with the one cover of the dude holding the giant Van Halen globe. They have the angel on the cover with the pack of Marlboros. They have just so many different unique covers of their albums that are timeless, that you'll think about that artwork for forever. Same with Metallica. The Black Album's cover is actually black, but there are, a few unique things on the cover, like the snake for Don't Tread on Me and different things like that. But again, back to Injustice for All, the the justice statue there with, the blindfold on and the scales and everything. And like the way that it's drawn is just so unique. And that's like the artwork for metal covers is like one of the coolest things to me, whether it's, meant to be creepy or whether it's meant to just, be jaw dropping, whatever it's meant to be. They can just be so much fun. Killswitch Engage's art, like metal album. Killswitch Engage's album covers are some of my favorites. So that's kind of like where things started for me was, those bands. And talking about album covers real quick, country music ones, they were all the same back then. Like, the singer would be like leaning against a railing or leaning up against a barn or, whatever it was, or, sit on the hood of this car. Like, they were all kind of the same. They had like three different, it was like, we've got three different styles of pictures for you. Which one do you want for your cover this time? And that's kind of changed a little bit these days. Man, you know what? Brooks and Dunn. I did not give them any credit in this. Brooks and Dunn also was like one of my big favorites back then because like you've got Neon Moon, you've got Only in America, so many big, songs back then. Like they were huge. And of course, Alan Jackson too. I can't believe I didn't mention Alan Jackson earlier because like that dude like had so many hits back then, Neon Moon, or not Neon Moon, Neon Rainbow. I meant Neon Moon's Brooks and Dunn. Whoops. But just great song after great song after great song by both of like them. And then I think about Brad Paisley's earlier hits too, thinking about whenever I was younger that really got me hooked. Literally, I'm Gonna Miss Her. Fishing became a really big thing because of my grandpa for me. And, that song, I'm Gonna Miss Her, like really hit home because it's like, man, I would, and of course being a kid and never having, a girlfriend, whenever that song came out, I was like, man, fishing is really important to me. I would leave a girl for fishing. So that was the early years. And then like middle school, I found like some heavier bands and stuff that really kind of linked things together and made it even more, like I wanted more and go deeper. And Hatebreed was actually one of the very first ones that I found thanks to the Punisher album. And then shortly after that was like Korn and Pantera / Damage Plan. And shortly after I became a really big metalhead, unfortunately we lost Dimebag Darrell. Man, to think that that's been almost 20 years ago is just wild. And those bands really, I guess, were like the next stepping stone for me as far as like metal and stuff. But then like country music, I actually went backwards. I started listening more to the older guys like Johnny Cash. Didn't really listen to too much Waylon Jennings until more recently, but like old school Hank Williams, like senior, and then like dabbled in some Hank Jr. as well. But like Johnny Cash became a really big deal to me, and Merle Haggard as well. Those two were like my favorites for a really long time. But if you ask me today, I would probably lean more towards Waylon being my favorite. I feel like I can relate more to Waylon now than any of them. But they're all so good, and I want to talk like for hours on classic country music, which good thing this is a podcast because we can do that over several episodes. But I really wanted this episode to kind of get you guys a better idea of like where I'm coming from with like different things of like where this all started. And it's been fun kind of, I guess, exposing myself and being a little bit vulnerable in that sense of like, oh yeah, this is like this was the soundtrack of my life. And maybe actually I should actually do like a soundtrack of my life, quote unquote, where like I just give a lengthy list of songs from like my childhood till now that like really resonated with me, and just like do 5 songs for each section or something like that. That could be fun. Maybe we'll do that in a future episode. But guys, we've been on here a little while. I hope you have a great Monday. Kick this week off right. I do have a Christmas playlist that I put together. Hope you guys go check it out. It is the Tin Roof Christmas playlist over on Spotify. It's only on Spotify. So sorry about that if you don't use Spotify. But check it out. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me for like 30 minutes. And y'all have a good one. See you Friday when we celebrate our not so special Christmas special. Bye.